Hi, how are you doing? This is Muthu Sundaram again. Session 10, Business Incubation, Monitoring, Evaluation, and Benchmarking. Today is part 1. As always, please spend 30 seconds to decide what would you like to achieve. And to my presentation, it will take about 15-20 minutes to finish this presentation. Okay, let's go to the next slide. The two important terms we need to understand for this session is monitoring and evaluation. Monitoring, you need to monitor the cash flow, the objectives, and the progress of the incubator. So these are some of the things you'd monitor. You'd monitor anything which would produce results for you. So it would give you an indication how you're doing. That's monitoring. And the monitoring items you will evaluate to see whether you are going the right direction or not. So these are the two important terms you need to know: monitoring, evaluation, which will then bring you to benchmark. Now, many organizations use various methodologies to see how individuals and organizations are doing. One of the popular ones is called the Balanced Scorecard, which takes into account both um, financials and non-financial outcomes. So this gives you an indication to monitor your team on non-financial activities which may be non-tangible, to give you an outcome of their performance, and then you can benchmark them against one another. So what the balance scorecard does, it takes into account tangible and non-tangible. So it's a fairly good, robust system. However, not everyone uses a balanced scorecard. So you can use any system which you think which fairly evaluates your outcomes. Now you need to have a management information system. The purpose of this is it will be able to capture everything you're doing, your documents, your technology, your costs, you name it, whatever you're doing in your incubator will be captured into the system, and the data will be held in a central depository. So whenever you need to look at these, you can do that. So the second thing is you need a management information system. Now, what is the need for monitoring and evaluation? Simple. If you don't monitor and evaluate, you won't know whether you're achieving your goals. So if you're not achieving your goals, there'll be no outcome. So this will also help you to see whether there is any work plan flaws. So you can correct them. You gather data, especially for performance, and improving accordingly. So this is why you need to monitor and evaluate, and to keep track of your funds and receiving from stakeholders. And this will help you to develop a benchmark by having all these monitoring and evaluation. Now, who can monitor and evaluate the incubator? The incubator itself should actually do the monitoring, so they will be able to understand what they're doing. The people working in the incubator. Of course, the other ones would be stakeholders like government, the host institution, your other partners who work with you, stakeholders. Of course, government, if they're funding you, they will also evaluate you. So these are the three types of evaluation you need to look at: incubation itself, the incubator, stakeholders who are part of the incubator, and government bodies if they are helping, if they're giving you a grant. Now, how do you evaluate the incubator's performance? Of course, you need to gather qualitative and quantitative data. You need both to ensure that you do a fair evaluation of the performance of the incubator. You need to also assess the collected data and check for areas to be improved. So you will look at numbers both in terms of how the incubator is doing, how the incubatees are doing. So both would have to help you, and then recommend it to be done by a consultant or an expert panel for betterment. So generally, most incubators will have their board evaluating every year, telling them what they have done is well, good, bad, how to improve. So the purpose of this is to become better. Now, business incubation programs. All the inputs are processed to provide business support services. So whatever you're doing is to provide business support services. Inputs from stakeholders, managers, entrepreneurs, and other resources all goes into the program. Startups graduate when they work to add value to the economy of the country. So they're starting to generate income. So this is when they would move out of the incubator. So that's another part of it, which is important to know. Now, what are the evaluation criteria? The first one is the activities in the incubator must be relevant to the needs mentioned as part of the input. The objectives created with the input has to be achieved effectively. The inputs must be processed efficiently in order to achieve the objectives. When the aimed output is achieved, the incubator can provide sustainable services to the client. So they are all interrelated together, the evaluation criteria. Now, indicators. The first indicator you use to measure the performance and what stage an incubator is. So the indicators will vary depending on what stage the incubator is. And then through monitoring and evaluation, we can develop a defined number of startups. Using process indicators, the usage of resources can be clearly defined. Key performance indicators are qualifiable measures that consider the achievement of the vision and mission statements the incubator has set out to do. Now, the types of incubators. First one is obviously performance incubator. This is what you use to measure your final objectives. Process incubators. Indicators. This measures the actions taken as a result of collecting the input and also the training activities conducted. Typical performance indicators. This measures the number of startups created during your processes. So these are all important indicators. Now, indicators must be measurable and they must be significant. And in order to derive a result, it must be measurable and exact when you can provide a valid outcome. The outcome from measurements of an indicator needs to be ambitious and achievable. The results must be agreed by all members, which indicate that the result is reliable. Data must be frequently collected to note the process and take decisions accordingly. So you must be frequently collecting data. Now, you will have a lag indicator, measures the performance of the incubator over a long period, and a lead indicator, which will do it for a short period. And you need both, so your incubator, you will know the status of your incubator, the health of your incubator. So these are some of the things which you need to constantly be looking and driving towards achieving. Now, rules to choose an indicator. You need to have a balance indicator which balances both input and output is important. So it has to be a balance indicator. The indicator must be good enough for a smart measurement. Only 6 to 10 incubators must be, not incubators, sorry, indicators must be defined. The selected indicators must be relevant and capable of giving you the information from the existing data. This is how you would know how your incubator is doing. Now, process of an incubator is measured by progress of the incubator is measured by obviously the number one is the number of clients you bring in. Then the output will be the number of graduates. So you bring in more clients, you'll have more graduates hopefully. And the more you have, the more number of people will be employed by these groups, and also your incubator will need more people to manage them. And then of course the wages provided to these, so that will also be an indicator. And then the net gross revenue amounts, how are they doing, tech equities and grant raised. So all this would be the indicators for your incubator measure. Now, performance of the incubator. First of all, its business model has to be looked at. Is it generating income? The mission and vision statements, which describe the objectives, must be looked at. The nature of business environment in a particular locality is very, very important. The needs put forth by the stakeholders. What do they need? Are we providing those? So that's a performance. The available resources and efficient usage of it. So all this is extremely important. Now the fundamentals of monitoring and evaluation system. Monitoring the daily activity along with the person who's in charge of data collection. Important. The person providing data must ensure confidentiality. That means they cannot fudge the data. They must make sure it is accurate and they must not be putting it in public domain. Very important. So you make to have confidentiality. Make sure the data holders are not forced for irrelevant data. Stakeholders must be able to analyze the system and also the indicators derived from this. So all this is important to ensure that you are able to do a good monitoring and evaluation system. Now, data collection. The integrity of the data collection is very, very important. We need to make sure the data is well collected. It has got least bothered activities for an entrepreneur. So it must not bother them when you collect this data. It is also difficult to keep in touch with entrepreneurs who have graduated. So this is where the MIS we talked about is important. So some of this data can automatically be entered as time goes along. For a consistent development of incubator, it would require data on long term for proper monitoring and evaluation. You need to build a relationship with your graduate startup so you'll be able to collect more useful data from them and use it as well. Existing data can be used to enhance the performance of your existing activities. Collecting data can be through surveys or self-assessment questions on a regular basis. You interact with your stakeholders to collect all these data. Now, importance of data. Data is important for the process of monitoring, and it has to be highly confidential. And the integrity of this data is also very important. This can be done efficiently if there's full cooperation in the organization. Data collection from people who might not have proper knowledge about the system would be inefficient. So the person who's collecting the data should also understand and know why they're collecting the data. So the right data is collected and it's analyzed for the right purpose. The staff must be trained in proper ways so that they can provide high information, just right information to maintain a consistency of the incubator. Now, importance of collecting accurate data. Questions prepared might be collect certain information. So data provided must be relevant to that. So the data collection is consistent. The questions you prepare must be able to collect consistent data. To maintain consistency, it's important to use the same system regularly. If you use different systems, then they're not regularized. Make understand the members of the organization importance and benefits of collecting accurate data. The system must be revised once in a while to make sure it's flexible within the organization. Now, data analysis. The first thing you do is there must be efficient input with the relevant process that would provide an output that supports the objective of the incubator. Provide better ideas to improve the system with the data collection. Better communication is important to pass information. Improvising the service provided to entrepreneurs. Identify ways through which expectations can be met. So this is what the data analytic is important for. Now, reporting, as you all know, is very, very important. Everything should be documented. Maintain a constant period for reporting. Could be monthly, could be quarterly, but it should be consistent. The report should have a description about its area of work. It should explain the mission and vision statements. The support services provided in the computer has to be explained. Action taken through the data collection has to be mentioned. The indicators should be monitored and evaluated as mentioned in the previous slides. Now, what is next? As always, we ask you to identify your key takeaway from this lecture. How is it related to you? And the important part, the very, very important part, and the essence of our lectures is how are we going to share this with others? Because the entire module on incubation is to see how we can share knowledge from one to another and to another and to other. So that is the goal of these sessions, and that is why they're as short, so people can concentrate, listen, and apply. Now, as always, as good entrepreneurs, we will acknowledge that we have made references making these slides to the Info Development Business Information Incubation Toolkit. As always, you know how to contact me. My email is muthu.singram@BibleZone. My telephone number is there. We have a couple of books on entrepreneurship and incubation at Amazon. If you put in my name, you'll get those books. You know my YouTube channel because you're watching this on this. You're watching this on the YouTube channel. I thank you for your participation, and I also request for you to get back to us with any feedback you have, and please share the channel with others because the whole goal of this incubation session is for us to share. As we share more and more, and we'll be able to build the ecosystem better and better. So once again, I thank you for watching this session. See you again soon next week for the part 2 of this topic of monitoring and evaluation and benchmarking. Thank you.